let us get that taken care of and this taken care of, and we are kind of all set to go. And this is going to be an exciting one in the series. And what number are we at now? I'm remembering in this series.
Let me see. It is 20 or 52.
Wow. Okay, great. We're getting there. Boy, time flies when we're having a blast, doesn't it? So very good. Well, it is, shall I let our peeps in?
Yes, yes.
Let's see why. Okay, and two people entered the waiting room. Why am I not? I don't need to view them. Why I need, oh, there we go. That's strange. Okay, admit. Hello, hello. So we are ready to go. I shall start now, and we're just going to get right into very high energy fun and games right now. I'm going to let a few more people in, and then I'm going to start our chatting. And we're joining. Hello, people. We're all joining. Boom, 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 right at 5:30 or 6:30 or 7:30 in the morning. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, as it always is. I am very excited that it is, if it's Thursday, it must be Mynoo Maryel. And we are going to be jumping right into Circadian. I like that word also. Oh my goodness. Whoops, come here, yeah, it is Circadian rhythm or Circadian set point. And this is, by the way, guys, the 20th week of 52. And I think most of the people who are here this time, because we're not so much on Facebook Live, everyone knows Maryel. So I don't, or Mynoo Maryel. So I don't need to do any introduction that way, except to say that I am Sunny Chase and I'm really excited to be here. And we're just going to take off like a shot because, as we know, our dear Mynoo loves to, for her first point, take like 25 minutes and all the rest. So I'm going to let her, I'm handing the mic over to her. I'm handing the talking stick over to Mynoo right now and letting her get right to it. So without further ado, Mynoo, take it away.
Thank you, thank you. I have a little bit of a sore throat, so it's that tail end where the voice becomes sexy. um,
Oh.
so let me just make sure there's something that I have to do first.
And we're also admitting. So peeps are still coming in the room, coming into town here. So we're letting people in, Mynoo, and I think we've got our general gathering here. So we may begin, I think.
Fabulous, fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually went through the 7 circadian set points, okay, that are essential for the human miracle to operate like the miracle that this amazing human body is. I had a friend visiting here from London, Mary Malloy. She's often on our sessions, and she's a pioneer of biodynamic medicine. And there's a statement that she often uses, which, it really hit me, which is our bodies are designed to be, they're actually healing organisms, not coping organisms. And they're designed to heal. And the terrain of the human body is perfectly serviced to enable and support that healing mechanism of the human body. It's not a coping mechanism. And the 7 circadian set points, some of them are internal to us, some are external to us, some actually exist in both the terrain, internal and external. Water is one of those that is internal to us and also exists outside of us. And we talked about living water as one of those circadian set points. So first of all, and it is these 7 virtues of living water that enables you to get why water is one of the circadian set points. So the first one is, and normally I have all of this written on my computer and you don't even know that I'm reading it, but I'm actually going to go to my notes. So the first one is, it's called seed of life. Seed of life. The virtue of the seed of life. So for that, it's important to understand what water actually is. Water, actually, as an energy force, it is an archangel energy force. A bit like Archangel Michael, Archangel Gabriel. An archangel is someone as an energy force who has a very specific mission given to it directly by the energy of God. And the very specific role that water has been given is to be a carrier of the seed of life. So if something is going to be a carrier of seed of life, then it has to have a very pure terrain. It has to have the ability to autocorrect anything that might go wrong with it. And it is self-healing, self-restoring, and it resurrects itself to what its originating intent is. It's very much driven by the intention of where it is heading and the core intention of water, and that is its biggest virtue, is that it is a carrier of the seed of life. So if you took away all the programming that water may have gone through and deprogrammed it back to where it originated, this is really what its originating intent is. And that is its biggest virtue. For something to be a carrier of seed of life, if that seed is in distress, the carrier has to have the ability to resource itself in such a way that this distressed seed can actually be rectified. So it has to be very resourceful. It has to be something that can keep moving forward despite whatever else may be going on around it. And water does that. Now, how did I come across this understanding of water, an understanding of this is its biggest virtue? And I'll share that in a moment. But I also want to talk about, in the context of this virtue, that water has, because it's an archangel, it has the energy force of an archangel. Like Archangel Michael, whatever may be going on, you can always invoke Archangel Michael to protect you and to shield you and keep you safe. Like nothing ever takes away from Archangel Michael's ability to deliver on that. Water is exactly the same. So wherever the energy of God, whatever that is for you, wants to bring life in, water is the one that is sent there before. And it is sent there before as a carrier of the seed of life. And that carrier and the seed of life is deposited when the terrain becomes conducive to receive the seed of life and is able to germinate that seed. And hence, when we look at many other planets where there have been explorations by humans and life was not found, primarily because there was no water. Some places there have been evidence of water having existed at some point. But it's no more, and there is no life. So how did I come upon it, and what makes this its biggest virtue? So as some of you know, I do this program called the Journey into Miracles. Some of you may also know that there is a very specific and a very, very, very exclusive program that I do with a few people, and it's a one-to-one, called Embodied Enlightenment. And it is a journey which takes at least a year, sometimes longer, where people experience a transformation and an upleveling into enlightenment, and that occurs in their body, and they understand how they can activate these enlightened frequencies going about their daily work. They don't have to go away and hide in a cave or anywhere. They can be in this enlightened state and go about their daily practices. So I was doing my first ever embodied enlightenment journey with a dear friend of mine, and we were in Richmond in London. And then we moved to live in an apartment that we had, a fairly new apartment that we had rented for my niece. And we were coming towards the end of that journey. So it's a 9-day experience, the first one. And as we got towards the end, lots had changed for her. And I asked her, okay, we have one more day left. If anything was possible, what would you like to experience? And she said, one of the things that gave me great joy and made me celebrate my body was doing Thai kickboxing. I really loved the strength. I loved the vitality, and I just feel so, I'm okay, my tiredness, I can remove it with a click of a finger with what we've gone through. But I would love to know that my body still has that strength. So when I tuned into her body, I said, okay, the answer lies in water. So I'll be guided on going on a journey with water with you. Now, that was a year where I had traveled from New York directly to London, no, via Dubai, actually. I traveled from New York to Dubai, and then from Dubai, I'd come to London. On that travel from New York to Dubai, I was guided to pick up a small book of canvas tiles and lots of disposable acrylic paints. And I'd taken all of that in my handbag, and then I was guided to go and paint on the flight. And I mean, I was like seriously apologetic to everybody around me because the smell of paints is not the best thing to experience on a flight. But fortunately, I was in a part. I was seated in a business class where I was on my own, so the smell did not spread so much. And I throughout that flight, I think it's 12 hours or something, I was just painting away these tiles, one after the other. And I just thought, okay, this is going to be my gift for Emirates Airlines. How am I going to carry these tiles? And I had done 12 paintings whilst I was flying. And I use crystals to paint, right? So I don't use brushes. And I always carry a collection of crystals with me. And this time, the crystal that was very predominant in how I was painting, there were 3 crystals that were very, very predominant. One was Shastite, which is a piece of Mount Shasta. The mountain, and there's a little piece of it. So I had that piece. There's another one which is called the zebra rock, which is considered to be 625 million years old. It came down as a meteor on the earth And like it was there is a tiny sliver of that in Margaret River in um, in 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 Western Australia. And the third one was a dinosaur tooth, fossilized dinosaur tooth that I have. And so these three were the ones that were predominant. There was also moldavite, which kept coming in from time to time. So anyhow, I did those paintings and I just sort of laid them around me. And when we landed, lo and behold, they were all dry. Just either shows how dehydrating the flight environment is, or it was a miracle, whatever. So I arrive in Dubai and I'm now guided to carry these paintings wherever. So I have that whole collection of paintings. And we woke up the next day and it was like, okay, today's the day you're going to work with water and you're going to get your vitality back. And then my guidance was, you got to do another painting. So I have, now I don't have any canvas. I just have a standard A4 sheet of paper. I get it out and I have a ruby, quite a big chunk of a ruby column, quite a big one, that I had bought at Mount Shasta. And the guidance was, this is the one that's going to be the one that's going to make this painting. So I make it. And it looks like rose petals. I'll share some photographs of it in Beyond Meditation for you to see. Do all of that. And then it's like, okay, it's sitting there. And then we are guided to bring two large 1.5 liter bottles of Evian water. And we are guided to chuck that water in the sink and fill those bottles up with London tap water, which is highly chlorinated. You really can smell it. Okay, so we fill it up, and then like she could just do whatever she wanted to do. I was first going to prepare the water. At this point, I didn't know anything about it. So I put the water, and then I'm guided to put the water on this new painting that I've done. So I put it on there, and I'm holding the water, and I've closed my eyes, and water communicates through my hands that let's go on a journey. Let me tell you where I came from. And I go in and I'm just speaking continuously. And my friend is filming me. And by the way, there is a website that is called the Miracle Water. I can again share the link with you, where there is some excerpts of this film is there. So I'm like, I have my eyes closed and I'm just going on this journey with water and I'm speaking aloud and my fingers, because this is a plastic bottle, it's not a glass bottle. As I'm going on the journey, it's actually quite a scary journey, extremely scary, terrifying journey. And water, where I'm holding it, that part of the bottle is heating up. So like you can actually feel, my fingers are feeling the heat, and you can even see that part of the water boiling, like literally boiling because it's getting really hot, or completely freezing. And we keep going through this, this journey with the water. And I'm really seeing where it originated from. So basically, first I'm just seeing the journey it has made. And then finally I land where it originated from. And that's where I see that water actually we call it an element. It becomes an element when it becomes a carrier. But it actually was an archangel. And that's where I see all of the powers that all of these amazing archangels have. Water has it. And its mission is to be a carrier of the seed of life. So in what I was doing, I had deprogrammed this water and taken it to its originating intent. And once I saw, and literally you felt like champagne effervescent bubbles just spread through the entire bottle, and it returned to be the seed of life. I was given exactly how we are meant to work with it, and how many drops we are to use, and that this is like the master elixir of water being the carrier of seed of life. And then I opened my eyes And we both took a glass of water from that bottle, and it tasted like silk. Like literally, it was so beautiful and so yummy tasting, like really delicious. And then I was guided to bring out the paintings that I had done on the flight. And they were all water paintings. And then each one actually, now that the water was deprogrammed, because it is a carrier of the seed of life, this carrier can be molded to have different powers and energies. Now, there's a huge body of work about messages in water that has been done by, um, you know, the late Japanese scientist. There's a whole book about it where he has frozen them in the form of snowflakes. And you see how different snowflakes are formed based on the message you infuse in the water. So each of those paintings was actually infusing this deprogrammed water with very specific abilities. But the originating part was it is a carrier of the seed of life. And I realized its biggest virtue is the fact that it is a carrier of the seed of life. Anything that is a carrier has flow in it. It has many qualities. It is resourceful. And it has the ability to autocorrect. It's also discerning. It has a very unique level of vitality. And water has all of those things. So this is the first virtue of it. How do you do this, given that you don't have the painting? I am experimenting with different type of products with these paintings. So I have a set of coasters now, and I also experimented with a double-sided labels with this, where the painting was on the inside, on the sticky side of the label. And you could literally just stick it onto your bottles. And it's been very effective, by the way. So that's the first virtue. It's a carrier of seed of life. And all you can do is use the power of your hands and the ability of your hands to be connected to your inner light, and also to be able to bring in the light from the cosmos and hold water. I mean, it could be in a glass, you could just hold it, and just really, just like you invoke Archangel Michael, you invoke Archangel Water. Just invoke Archangel Water simply by, inviting water to be present in your hands as an archangel. And give it permission to operate from its originating intent of being a carrier of the seed of life. As soon as I have what I've created available to be shared more widely, I will share that. Right now, it's an experimental state as a product. And with that blessing of the water, with water as an archangel, you'll find your glass will become an elixir. And you don't have to drink it all. You can keep it, keep a little of it. And then that becomes like the culture that will, deprogram. Here you're not programming, you're deprogramming water. What is, because it is a carrier and it has the carrier qualities, when water goes through various places, including when pollutants are added to it, or whatever the intention may be of stuff that is thrown into the water, it actually picks up those qualities because it's a carrier. And But when it is deprogrammed and its remembrance of being a carrier of the seed of life returns, then it actually repels anything that that is not in service of what its mission is. So water as a carrier of the seed of life, when it also becomes a carrier of the goddess of light, Ganga, the river Ganges, then the river Ganges is the goddess of light. So that, people say, and I have experienced it myself, the Ganges water is holy water, and they say that it doesn't get contaminated. It can be polluted, but it does not contaminate. And I've traveled to amazing sacred spots in Bali and other parts of India and other parts of the world. And once I realized the power of water, I'll always pick up some water and have it in my altar. And most of the waters from any of these sacred holy places will develop some form of growth. You start seeing them inside the water after a few weeks. With the river, with the water from the river Ganga, it remains the same. You don't see any contamination or anything in it. You just don't. For years, it remains the same. So that's the beauty of it. That is like the goddess of light. So water in the flowing river of Ganga, where there is a flow, is a carrier of seed of life. And it has the goddess of light in it as well. So that's the first virtue. Can it be plastic? Can it be steel? The interesting thing is we worked with a plastic bottle, right? And combined and added to it chlorinated, fluorinated, water, stuff that I just had not had for at least 10 years by then. I was not having any fluoride in my toothpaste or anything. I was very discerning. And there I was, like, with this 3 liters of water that I was working with from the tap. And everything just disappeared. It did not taste of any of those things. It tasted beautiful. So when it is a carrier of seed of life, if plastic is going to damage it, it doesn't. It actually gets neutralized. It's pretty phenomenal. So that's the first virtue. Let's look at the others. The second one, the second virtue is aliveness. Yes, it's a carrier of the seed of life. And life, as you know, is a gift of a state in which an organism is breathing. And yeah, you are required to have that state first. And what follows when you really harness having that gift of the state of life is you start to live that life. And the consequence of living that life is aliveness. If your internal water, look, there is water within us, at least 70%, and in some parts of our body, 90% water, and there is water surrounding us. We literally are walking under rivers of water. It's like floating rivers of water. They're around us. If you were, and I am in the desert, and I love going to the desert, particularly sunrise, sunset. I just love doing that. And you can't be there for much longer than beyond sunrise. It just suddenly, like, literally starts to scratch your skin, right? And there is still water around us. But if there was no water at all around us, very soon we would be very severely damaged, and possibly even our human body may give away. So aliveness, water, virtue is aliveness. So when you have the gift of life, you come out from your mother's womb You come out from there and you are surrounded by water. You come out of it, you're surrounded by water again. Doesn't look like fluid, but it is in the form of very, very fine globules of hydrating moisture that's there. And there is water within you. So even if you feel very negative, or you are in a state where you can barely carry on, you have the gift of life, so you're breathing, but everything seems to be falling apart. Literally have no fear, because there is water inside you and there is water surrounding you. There is aliveness there within you and around you. So you can choose to harness that virtue by choosing discerningly actions that make you come alive. And that action, like in my case, sometimes is just a 24/7 webcam of Rialto Bridge or St. Mark's Square that can snap me out of whatever I may be going through. Or I'm really having a lot of fun with essential oils, really connecting to the energy of the plant and the flower and the bees, the pollinators that enable that essential oil to come to me. So I'm able to, that again is something that brings me alive. But the idea is, the moment you step into whatever it is that makes you feel alive, your water just spreads that. And because it is a virtue, and it's the spreading ability of aliveness is quite infectious. And you begin aliveness by activating the infectious ability of aliveness across your 124 trillion cells. So first it is infectious within you, and then it literally transcends to the terrain that surrounds you. And we've all experienced it, where you may be in a bit of a funk and you come across someone who is just vibratingly alive. After a while, that funk disappears. Children do it, babies do it quite easily with us. But that's because it is our water. It's a virtue of our water that allows this to spread so rapidly. No great processing required from the mind. So it's a very special, I loved it, that, wow, aliveness is a virtue of water. And I have 70% of it. Every cell of my 124 trillion cells has aliveness in it. So I'm like, full of, brimming with aliveness. And I can consciously choose not to feel alive, but it is actually really hard to stay that way. And I mean, I can see it with my 2-year-old grandson. His name is Emilio. The meaning of Emilio is handsome charmer. That's the meaning of Emilio. And this little one is handsome charmer. So he will be walking around, and if he meets some new people, he'll have a poker face. He will just examine them first. And then when he starts to feel that, okay, this person I'm going to connect with, he starts twinkling his eyes, with his eyelashes, his little Chinese eyelashes. He'll just twinkle his eyes, and then he'll smile, this very smirky smile, like really flirting with you. Whatever you may be, whatever funk you may be in, that's like infectious. Seeing this little 2-year-old going in this cute way of asking you to say hello, differently than the way you might have related to him, is infectious. I mean, that's the living, breathing example of this virtue in action of water, aliveness. Sunny, is there anything that you want to share, given that
I
this is an
do. One thing I'd like to talk about is I'm sure many of us are familiar with Dr. Masaru Emoto and the studies of water in that way. And I just saw something on Instagram today that I thought was so fascinating, relating to the fact of the seed of life. And first of all, the fact that you can shift water, I'm thrilled about. I'm going to be doing that because I have like an issue with plastic, and you know how I am. It's like, oh my God, I want it. It's just a whole thing with me. So now I'm excited that I can just let all that go and do this magic. And this thing I saw on Instagram today. So thank you for that. And also the anxiety of that, because sometimes I feel like I'm almost afraid of water in America, and I honestly don't drink enough water. I know I don't, because I'm a little afraid of it. Um, I saw the most groovy thing today where a young girl, took some tears. She was crying and took tears and put them under a microscope, and they were phenomenal looking. They were that Dr. Masaru Emoto thing. And I was so curious about that. And I thought, gosh, and then
wow.
on the Instagram thing, they show different pictures where, some look like leaves and some look like, all different kinds of shapes and art and stuff. And I thought, well, gosh, are these, exclusive to us, like fingerprints, or are they a different aspect of emotion that shows, like if you're crying for happy, crying for sad? I had no idea, but I thought, wow, I just have a whole bunch of questions about that. So I just thought I'd throw that into the mix, as if you don't have enough to talk about.
What I'm getting, particularly in the context of emotional crying, um, what is reflected in that is the energy that is supporting you at that moment.
Mm.
So if the tear looked like leaves, the energy that is supporting you is coming from nature spirit. So you're wrapped up in okayness.
Mm.
That's what that is.
Beautiful. Oh
Okay.
my.
So that's what you see with the tear.
Mm. Beautiful, beautiful.
So so amazing, Sunny. Because I mean, I just really have done a huge amount of work with water ever since these water paintings came about.
Mhm.
Because we even send the labels over for the Japanese scientist you're talking about, to his lab,
Oh wow.
to see what the crystal formations would be of
Ooh.
water before and after. And we were really keen because they could do that. I think they charged us $1,500 per painting, and it was totally worth it to understand whether or not something was happening with these paintings. You know,
That's
uh,
fantastic. Yeah, they do still have the institute there carrying on, even though he's passed, I think like
yeah,
10 years ago or 8 years ago. Yeah, yeah. Fantastic, Manu. Well,
yeah.
and so thank you for that. And again, I'm just really excited to understand this sort of Archangel Michael energy with water, because we do have it around us in most. I'm trying to think if there's any ceremony that doesn't use water. There are places like in South Africa and different places where there's very little water, like in a desert. Even still, the water's evoked, even if it's not actually there, in the form of like smoke and other ways. So it's with us sacredly all the time.
The thing is, it is there. Even in the desert, it's there. Um,
Hmm.
what I see, the interesting thing about the desert is I love doing sunrise in the desert. Love doing sunrise. So what we do is we just go into the wild desert, and wild desert is like half an hour away. In anywhere in Dubai, you can like half an hour drive, you're in the wild desert. It's everywhere, even though you don't see it in front of you, but it's everywhere. So
Hmm.
go there for sunrise. It's freezing cold. Whatever time of the year it is freezing cold, and you can just sit on a sand dune and dig it up and put your feet in or your hands in and they're like wrapped up in like when you do the paraffin manicure or pedicure, and you're just wrapped up in this wonderful soft warm paraffin. It feels like that, and
Mm,
it's moist.
mm,
So is the one that is keeping the heat inside, even though outside it is freezing cold. And the moment the sun comes out, within minutes, it is super hot. And you realize that, wow, there has to be sufficient water. Water doesn't just appear every night.
mhm.
Sufficient water for around for it to, for us not to burn so completely with this. And for there always to be moisture when you go into the sand, even in hardcore desert. So there
Yeah,
is what it
yeah.
does. It is we literally are walking around, in floating rivers.
I mean, I
And
think
some
that's a fantastic thing to know and to have around us. And again, with ceremony, I think of all the different ceremonies with holy water and, just so many ceremonies that involve and evoke water, even again, if it's not completely available. And so I'm going to let you get to our third point, but I also love the concept of the aliveness and to remind ourselves again that there are floating rivers around us and that we, of course, are I mean, as we move through science and finding out what is the actual percentage of water we are, it just keeps upping and upping. I remember 20 years ago or something, it was like, oh, it's 60% water. Then it went to 70. And then, essentially now it's like 90, if you consider everything. So I love it. I love it. And thank you for bringing together the science and the mystery and the spirit and the practicality. It's like what we need, right? Right, guys?
Yeah,
So, yes, shall we dive into number three?
three. The third virtue of water is its ability to deprogram.
Mm,
So the fact that in that one journey with water, I was able to go through certainly centuries, possibly even millennia of all the programming that water might have gone through and deprogram it, getting it to its originating intent, because it is a flowing, it has these flowing abilities. It has the ability to deprogram you. So if you find yourself stuck because you just can't get over a particular belief that you have been holding on to very dearly, and you feel stuck with it because anything other than that feels unsafe, work with water to support
mm,
you to get deprogrammed and get your own freedom back. And when water deprograms, it does it very lovingly. It doesn't, it literally just washes away the stuckness, clears out any clogging that may be there. And you start experiencing a beautiful flowing way of releasing any anything that might exist where you may feel like you've been brainwashed. So, people who might have been belonging to a particular cult and feel that they want to, even though they might have left it, they're not able to let go of some of the experiences they had, then water will support you to deprogram yourself quite lovingly. You know,
mm.
there's someone that is a very active miracle journeyer. He's done a lot of this work, and he's an amazing musician and would suffer from eczema in his fingertips to such an extent that here's an Emmy award winning musician and is struggling with some of his core talents because his fingers start bleeding when he even plays a little bit of the piano. And one of the things that we uncovered was he had been forced into going to church and a form of Christianity, which literally was brainwashing him and others to really experience guilt about their choice. And guilt, Linda, Lee, you're all here, is one of the sergeant majors, as I call them. Here to support you to live the calling of your soul. He could not relate to it like that. So there was guilt and shame, like really gripped with it. And it was, okay, it was important that intellectually he reframed his thinking, but to support him to heal very rapidly, that reframing of the thinking then required water to support him to deprogram what he had been brought up with for all of these, 5 decades of his life. And it didn't take long. Within weeks, his eczema and all that was gone, something that he had struggled with for at least over a decade. So yes, it needed a reframing intellectually. So his mind and thoughts were all in line with, guilt and shame are showing up to support me in this way. So they're not bad. I don't have to run away from them. I embrace them as my sergeant majors supporting me. And then water allowed that deprogramming to spread across his 124 trillion cells and do it in such a way that it remained with him. So use this deprogramming virtue of water in changing your habits that you believe are dysfunctional. Water will enable you to transmute them so it's such that they become habits that are in service of your highest good. The fourth virtue is vibrant vitality. The interesting thing is, even the most stagnant water, when sun rises and there is a reflection that you see from the water, there is a sparkle in it, even if it may just be in some parts and the rest may just be sludge. But where water and sun connect, it gives you that experience that there is a vibrancy, there is a dynamism to water. And water, wherever it appears, it is full of it, like literally, because of its vibrancy, it promotes vitality. So even if it is a swamp of mosquitoes or lots of frogs that suddenly take birth in water that might have appeared, these are all evidence of the vibrant vitality virtue of water. So given that that is the virtue and you have a lot of it in you, even if you're feeling completely exhausted, you can literally take a glass, hold it, and ask it to support you with the next sip, to re-invoke your own inner vibrancy. Because when you do this with conscious awareness, then the vitality, remembrance returns to your cells. Remember, cells are dying and new cells are being birthed all the time. Vast majority of your 124 trillion cells are actually very fresh. They're fresh babies, full of vitality. It's literally our conscious thought patterns that keep us disconnected from the vitality that exists within us. A cell is a cell and it is given a gift of life. If you're just sitting there breathing, not doing anything, you may not feel that vibrant, but vitality is there. The next sip you take of water and ask it to bless you with its virtue of vibrancy. Vitality is automatically invoked. So here's the other piece that I'm learning, which is how do you drink water? There's such a focus on the quantum of water. We have 70% water, and therefore you have to drink these many liters of water. You can drink these many liters of water, infused with a whole variety of vibrations as well as other forms of pollutants that may be in it. Unconsciously, you can glug it down, and you actually can have a glass and drink the water sip by sip, knowing that in this glass, I have all of those 7 virtues. And this water, when I drink it sip by sip, being aware of its virtues, you are deprogramming it already. And if the water that you're ingesting is water that is deprogrammed and starting to become a carrier of seed of life, because it is infectious, it actually starts to deprogram your water within you. And your vibrancy and health returns. Every water, look, we are all stardust. You, me, everyone is made from the same creator that made the trees and the birds and the bees and the mountains and the rivers and the brooks and the springs. So given that we are made by the same creator and we have the essence of that creator within us, we have the ability to create. We are at the source of all creation. And as humans, we give so much importance to just the thought aspect of our creation abilities. Whereas actually, every cell in your being, it has the power of a creator. But when you when you only think, when we create with our thoughts, the experiences that give us our experience of the world. But the world is this amazing, vibrant, vital world. We live in a world that is rich in water, because it is brimming with life. And there's only 7.9 billion of us as humans. There are, several trillions of living beings above the earth, below the earth, in the water, surrounding us. They are all in their truth, even if humans may not be. And even as humans, vast majority of 124 trillion cells are in their truth. So have water, sip by sip. It becomes an act of prayer, an act of dedication, an act of devotion, an act of respect to yourself. You literally are in a ceremony with every sip you take. Because every sip is rich in all of the 7 virtues. That's why it is such an important circadian set point. This is what happens. I just get very carried away. We have it's such a rich series, this one. I love it. So the fifth virtue is intelligence. I was like, wow, intelligence is a virtue of water. It's an archangel that carries a seed of life. So anywhere that we have any stuckness or accumulation of debris in our bodies, water has its natural intelligence to go there and as a carrier of seed of life and wash away the debris. And our bodies are already designed so perfectly So when water is washing away the debris, it automatically, it has the intelligence to direct the debris into the organs through which it gets excreted. And that could be the skin, it could be your digestive tract. We have several elimination organs in our body. Kidneys are also elimination organs. So water has its own intelligence. And there's 70% of your 124 trillion cells are water. So you are a living, breathing, walking, sleeping energy ball of intelligence. If you say you are stupid, you are only because you say so. And it doesn't matter. 70% of you is water. You can change that at any time. Because the reality is, given it has a virtue of intelligence, it's also quite humble. So it doesn't matter if you give yourself the label of that I'm stupid. Water will say, okay, whatever, doesn't give away its intelligence, doesn't roll over and, drop all of its virtues. It doesn't. They remain. And with the next sip you take, you can reclaim that intelligence as yours. Because it is. That's the beauty of these virtues. So you have your virtues that you are aware of. You have your core values. And you have all of these virtues of water in you too. I get really excited about how rich and enriching this gift of life is. And we can literally do anything that we want. We are so supported. And this is just one of the circadian set points. We're going to go through all of them over the next few weeks. The sixth one is anchoring. And I was like, anchoring? Water anchors us? It does, because of its innate ability to flow. There's a knowingness in you that I can always find my flow. So you can go about really enjoying, experiencing the extremes of emotions should you choose to. Because you'll find your flow. You're anchored in a knowing. That's the power of water. So we are born with choice. We are born with dignity. We are born with our unique mastery of being able to operate from source. Because there is a knowing that even if we feel tossed around, we can be tossed around, but ultimately what we make it mean is up to us. And there is an inner knowingness about it that we really are actually indestructible. Because as a soul being, you are. And every cell that takes birth knows that. Knows that it's a privilege to house something as powerful, eternal, limitless, indestructible as our soul essence. And it is a privilege for every cell to be the expression of this power that we house. And what enables that to be multiplied 124 trillion times is water. And that is what enables us to remain anchored. It doesn't take that long for anybody and everybody, whatever state they may be in, to return to their center. Because the anchoring is actually anchored within you. That's a knowing because of water. It's one of its virtues. And the seventh one is flowing forward momentum. Water is always flowing forward, always flowing forward. And it is that flowing forward that enables us, when we choose to add the power of our conscious awareness to something, you can then bring about momentum in whatever you intend to cause through your aliveness. This virtue of flowing forward momentum was so exciting for me to understand. And I see it in action, I started really playing with it. I always used to, I do some pretty powerful work with business leaders. And I had this vision that I would love to be able to teach this to students, college students. Now I have the vision that there are some aspects of it I actually want to teach it to school children as well. But the college student, it's a cartel type of a infrastructure. And I use the power of water to navigate my connections in such a way that I just connected with exactly the perfect people who are very respected by that infrastructure. And they also have done some of the work that many of the miracle journeyers have done. And they got it, that they made this vision of mine their own. And now I'm doing this amazing program, Dignify Life, with students, teaching them what I teach business leaders and seeing the relationships transform. That's coming from, and it spreads so fast because of this virtue of water. More about that, maybe it deserves a dedicated session, how you work with flowing forward momentum, but using the power of water to make that happen. Over to you, Sunny, to complete our session.
Thank you so much, Manu. And for you guys, I'm going to just mention every single point quickly because I know we get so revved up with this, and I know you guys are taking notes. And I feel like this was so rich in real points for us to use in our everyday life in a really, really practical way. And this flowing forward momentum I love so much because it's just so cosmic, and it's so positive, and it's so like, yes, just keep going. Like we're pioneers, like we're pilgrims. It's like, don't get stuck in the mud. Just find a way forward. And so I feel like so many of the things that you said tonight are so symbolic also. They're practical, they're real. Water is a real thing that we're actually drinking, and it's so symbolic. So the flowing forward momentum, the anchoring, I also wrote earthing, grounding for number 6, centering. I think that's so important. Often when we're upset, it's like take a bath, take a shower, go swimming, that concept of like, oh, I feel so much better after I've taken a shower. I mean, I love that. And the intelligence of water, the idea that we can take a sip. And I also, you said it in here somewhere in one of the points, but again, the honoring of not glug, 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 but the honoring of, one sip at a time and really feeling it go down and honoring that. And then knowing, just for us to know, it has that intelligence to go to the right place, to go here, to go there. I mean, the myriad of organs we have, let alone the cells, to do the work. Does it need to be in the liver? Does it need to be in our hair? And it knows, and for us to give it that permission to say, whoa, I'm feeling a little low emotionally, or I'm feeling a little whatever it is, just please go where I am needing you to go. And then the cell is a cell given the gift of life. I thought, okay, that should be a t-shirt. Let's all just make a t-shirt that says that. And then the vibrant vitality and promoting this and the dynamism, again, for us to give ourselves permission to use a vehicle such as something that's with us all the time to allow ourselves to be vibrant and dynamic and yay. And then the deprogramming, oh my God, I love that. Like there's so much stuff I want to let go of. And it's like, yes, just flush it away. just wash it away. Just, just allow that storm, that water, that rain to come into wherever, into my heart, into my kidneys, into my wherever, to just wash, wash, wash. And then yes, deprogramming aliveness, of course, and the seed of life. So amen, my sister. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Just fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you. Just enjoy being with water. Thank you.
Indeed. Until next time, guys. Bye for
Bye.
now.
Bye-bye.